Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors, America's only daily outdoor TV show. Your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning to have a special guest here. But first, let's get started with our weather, brought to us by Gulf Coast Air Conditioning, Drew Pollard and hardworking crew. Take care of everyday comfort needs. Not bad today. High of 80, low of 64. But we do have some cool little weather coming. I know you've been watching, so we'll keep you informed on it, and we're all looking forward to it. Let's take a look at our water temperature brought to us by Maranta Cooperative Company, Miss Ariel Payne, and we're looking at the lowest it's been since this last winter. It's down to 77 degrees. Okay, dropped 3 degrees in 8 days. Okay. Monday moon phase, Coca-Cola, Panama City Coca-Cola presents it. We're just about at a half moon. Tomorrow night will be a half a moon, so it's waxing up, getting ready for a full moon. It'll be in November. Tide chart brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn. Good strong tides today. We're looking at a high at 1242. This morning we've had it. It's going out now, and it'll be low right in the middle of the day about 1230. Wind direction will be west-northwest at about 12. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back, folks, and welcome to our guest this morning. A familiar face here. We love having him on because we get so many good comments. How about Steve Shea of Shea Wildlife?
Winston, good to see you again.
Welcome back, man. We've been talking about stuff, but we're gonna set a record. We're gonna go through a whole show and not have any pictures because we have so much to talk about. Normally, there's all kind of pictures, but man, there's a lot's been going on. So,
yeah. The truth is, the reason I don't have any photos, I've been working so much, I haven't had time to recreate.
People, I don't think realize how much work you do and on just the surveys and all the things you're doing. So let's get started talking on it.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Winston, I'm deep into deep dive doing camera surveys. I do deer camera surveys on several 100,000 acres. I mean, so it keeps
all
me
kind of different places.
Yeah,
and farms.
A lot in Florida.
Yeah.
But I manage about 500,000 acres in Florida right now. But I'm also a stewardship coordinator for National Deer Association. We're working all across the country. Doing projects on national forests on part of their public lands initiative. Cool. So that keeps me busy. I'm doing a bunch of gopher tortoise work, managed some gopher tortoise recipient sites. So I got my hands full, that's for sure.
Well, what are you finding out?
Well, the thing I like about wildlife management is it's almost like doing a camera survey, especially on a new property. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like getting that box of Cracker Jacks and seeing what the prize is in it because you don't really know what's going on out there. And as you start doing the photo analysis, see what the buck age structure is, what your management bucks, shooter bucks, it's like peeling back the onion, and it's a cool discovery process that I really enjoy. Yeah.
And I guess with all your background and all, you can figure out the patterns and all kind of stuff. I mean, all kind of intricate, like a formula you put together when you sort of pick out the population and determine the population, or how do you do that?
Yeah, there's science behind doing a camera survey. There's certain assumptions too. You assume that bucks, does, and fawns have equal affinity to visiting bait sites because they're baited surveys. Yeah. And once you get all the photos and you see, just say you see 100 unique bucks on a property and how many times those bucks visited sites, and then it's basically algebra or science, mathematics, where you calculate the population density based on the numbers that you see on the survey. So
on these places you're surveying, do they have like food plots and corn, and how do they manage their property in general? How do most of these people do it?
Every property is different. Different landowners have different finances associated that they can apply to the property. They have different goals. But I would say most, it's a mixture of good forest management, good density of adequate sized food plots. A lot of places supplementally feed. Florida's ecosystems have low nutrition in most natural forages, so they supplement with a protein diet, which really puts the deer up over the edge. I've seen some properties I manage where their top end bucks, they increase by 10 inches or more if they're on a good supplemental protein program, but it's generationally. Those fawns, they have to start as fawns and as 1.5, 2.5, 3.5. So you just can't put protein out and expect to see that in 1 year. Because those deer are basically getting it every year from the time they were born. That's where you really see that jump in antler development.
That's a great point right there, because a lot of times we want to get that instant, he want that 6 point bill, 8 point next year. Well, I property right away. So
there's no silver bullet when it comes to deer management.
That's really interesting. Are you seeing the deer population rising or falling, or what else are you seeing in that in general?
That's so site specific. It depends on the landowner and where they were at when we started. But I've had some properties within 3 years' time the population double.
Wow.
Because they were at kind of a suppressed population. Others, we get them in maintenance stage. Lots of times initially, a lot of properties, Florida has low recruitment. The number of fawns that a doe has is typically averages between 0.35 and 0.5 per doe. So it's much lower than better habitats in the country. Because of that, it takes a lot longer for populations to build or grow. That's why we tend to have more conservative antlerless harvests in Florida than other states. Even though the state did greatly increase the antlerless harvest opportunity this year, and we'll talk about that a little bit today.
Okay. Now, a doe can have how many fawns? What's the average on it?
Yeah, so most of the properties I manage, even properties that are managed very well, supplementary feed, you often see only a half of a fawn. So it takes 2 does to actually have 1 fawn survive or be recruited. And even on high fence areas that are ultimate control over their deer population, is typically you see 0.7.
That's interesting.
So you don't even have one.
That's interesting. That's a misconception a lot of us have, including me, because you see fawns running around and all that. So they're all over the place, but they're not having that many then as we think, as it looks like.
Yeah, it's deceiving. You'll see, I see a doe with twins, and you say,
twins.
We're doing really well. Well, yeah, but then you see 2 does that don't have any. So there's high levels of mortality. Coyotes are huge. I'll give you an example. I would manage a high fence area that had a really low density, and I looked, it was like no recruitment going on, but I was seeing lots of coyotes. And so in the 3-year period, 1 year, I think in 18 months, killed over 100 coyotes.
Wow.
In 18 months.
Wow.
And now we're not seeing any coyotes, and unbelievable the number of fawns being recruited into the population. And of course, it's a lot worse on a high fence area because those coyotes are smart. They know how to hem those deer up against the fence, but in free-ranging populations, and studies have shown this in the southeast, that coyotes have a huge additive mortality in regards to fawns, and so that greatly affects the recruitment of numbers of fawns coming into the population. It used to not be that way, but coyotes have a lot of people think that they're not endemic to the southeast, and they've kind of immigrated across the landscape from Texas, but that's been somewhat exacerbated by back when they used to have running hounds and fences, and they would chase coyotes, fox. They don't do that anymore, but during that time they were actually moving coyotes into enclosures and they were having escapes, so that increased the expansion of coyotes across the state of Florida.
That's interesting. We've talked about that before, but this is scientific evidence that he's seeing it with we're doing the studies and all. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Here with Steve Shea of Shea Wildlife. Just a wealth of information, and we're glad to share it with you. There's so much going on, and we'll get back to some of the things we're talking about. But this segment, let's start about with antlerless deer opportunities now. There's something new this year, so tell us your opinion and what's going on. I know you do a lot of research, so let's hear it.
Yeah, the FWC greatly increased the number of days that you can kill antlerless deer or does in northwest Florida. So both in zone D1 and D2, you can harvest the antlerless deer through the entire season. The archery season, muzzle season, the whole gun season. Now, granted, there's a 5 deer bag limit, and only 2 of which can be does south of I-10. But north of I-10, 3 of your 5 can actually be antlerless deer if you want. I did not agree with the FW. Usually, I support most of the things but this one, and even some of their staff reached out to me and said, "Steve, we don't like this. Can you help?" I'm not going to say who, but I think the agency was getting a lot of pressure from the Farm Bureau, Florida Farm Bureau, because there's high levels of crop depredation in Northwest Florida. So anything the agency could do to help minimize that. So but the problem there is most of the hunt clubs around those farms, they're not going to kill all those does because the farmer is killing them with the crop depredation permits.
That's true.
So it's kind of like an antagonism between those two groups. Yeah. So that rule is not, or expansion of the antlerless harvest is not going to help that problem, but it can hurt. And if you look at some of, especially like in certain counties where there's small land ownership patterns, So it's not like you have a large, most of the big hunt clubs, they're going to take care of their own business. They're only going to kill what they typically have done in the past. Nothing's going to change. But on private lands that are clustered with small units, if they start doing that, it can greatly, I think, decrease the population in some areas. And that's the one thing that I'm really concerned on.
And you know what? In our area here in the Panhandle, we have a lot of that. Somebody's got 40 acres here, somebody got 120, somebody got 60, and I hadn't thought about that, but everybody started taking those does in that one area. So.
Yeah, and the problem is how the state analyzes their data. By the time they realize that the population is going down, and they do that based on reporting, harvest reporting. If that starts to decline, then it takes a year. So you're looking at this regulation will be in place for 3 years before you could even change it. So
3 years is going to be in place.
No. If they wanted to make a change, by the time they realized this is happening, and then another year goes by before they get the change in, so it could really. Now I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I think a lot of it's going to depend on hunters. Just say, hey, even though you have this greater opportunity, restrain yourself if you can. And we talked about how low recruitment is in the state of Florida. Usually a 1.5-year-old doe will be the first time she'll produce a fawn.
Okay.
A lot of states in better habitats, fawns are reproducing. Sometimes 75% of fawns are bred and have does their first year.
Wow.
Well, that doesn't happen in Florida, especially in North Florida, where our rut is so late that those deer are born so late that they're not reproductively mature that first season. Mm-hmm. So it's not until they're 1.5 years old. And even then, they're still completing body growth, so usually they have a lower number of fawns. But so most of the time in flatwoods, a lot of us hunt in flatwoods areas, I mean, you're looking at, it takes 3 does to produce 1 fawn into the population. And
wow.
So if you look at it from that perspective, say, well, how high of a harvest rate can they have before it's going to start impacting things?
Yeah.
And so, I tend to always have been, through the research that I've done, has been very conservative in regards to antlerless harvest in most places. Some places, I manage a lot of properties, man, you gotta hammer them because they're very high recruitment levels, but the habitats are different there. So just be cautious in using the new rule. It's great that you have opportunity. The one good thing is, if I want to kill a doe, I got to kill it in this 10-day period. Now I can relax, I can take my time. Whenever there's a perfect opportunity, I can take it. I think that's great. But just be smart about not overutilizing it so it impacts your population.
And what's your recommendation if they have a field out here and have 4 or 5 does coming in, have been watching them a while? Do you try to pick out the oldest one or the biggest one? What do you recommend?
Well, the big thing is what I tell people all the time: make sure you put your binoculars on it because in Florida, fawns are born so late. There's many short antlered spike bucks, and you can easily confuse them for an antlerless deer. You'll see, there's a big doe out in the field, and you think, it's got antlers this big. Sometimes I call them burr bucks. It's almost got just a burr, a hardened burr that doesn't even have a point sticking out of it. But it's a 1-year-old age class deer, and a lot of those are shot inadvertently as does. Now they'll still qualify as a doe because it has less than 5 inches. But you don't want to take those bucks out of the population, young bucks. So just be careful to glass them really good. Don't shoot even though they taste better, the fawn year age class, So just make sure, lots of times if you see a doe that has, a lot of people call them yearlings, but they're actually fawn with it, that's usually going to be an adult doe. And so you can take that one. Those fawns are weaned. They don't need the dam anymore to survive. So you're not doing the fawn a disservice by harvesting it during their normal hunting season. So.
What size are the wean? I mean, is it hard
Within
to say?
3 months' time, they're
3
weaned.
months, okay.
But most fawns in Northwest Florida are only usually 50, 55 pounds is the average weight. It's pretty small, So if you take it into the processor, you're going to pay the same amount for a deer twice the size. So shoot the bigger one.
That's true too.
Yeah.
That's true too. Wrapping up on a doe harvest. So we think there's no way to take like a mid-season survey or anything, is there?
Oh no, the data's not reported to the end of the year, so that's and they're going to let it go several years just to see if it has an impact. So it is what it is. But remember, in south of I-10 in D1, only 2 of your 5 deer can be antlerless, can be does. Okay, north of I-10, and this is because there's CWD up there is one of the reasons. 3 of your 5 deer bag limit can be does. So you can actually kill 1 more antlerless deer north of I-10 than south.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take a final break. Come right back with Steve. Okay, welcome back. Quickly, let's take a look at our fishing game times by Blue Water Outriggers in Port St. Joe, 3:58 to 5:58 this morning, and 4:24 to 6:24 this afternoon. Before we get to CWD, we're just talking during the break and all about cameras, and you brought up a point I have not thought about. AI, what's going to happen, we think?
Yeah, well, it's unbelievable how the use of cameras, how much it's helped my industry in doing population inventories. But they're now, everyone's hearing about AI and where it can be applied, but they're actually applying AI to interpreting photo analysis on camera surveys as well. It's not to the point now where I'm willing to use it because it doesn't provide all the information I need or landowners need, but eventually I think they'll be able to, you just run the photos through that AI, it'll tell you how many different buck photos, how many different doe photos, how many different fawn, it'll be able to identify individual bucks, it'll be able to tell you the scores. So this is all coming.
Wow.
You know, I don't know what the cost is going to be to be able to use the program.
They'd probably give you a point system and all that.
But they're working on this stuff now, and so I think that AI, you know, sooner than later will provide be a great tool for all of us to be able to use. You know, the bad thing for me is that's what people pay for me. That they won't need me anymore. But I think it's a long ways away. But it's getting closer.
That's crazy. Yeah. All right, CWD. All right, what's your take on it?
All right. Well, most of you have known there's been the second CWD confirmed case in Holmes County. It's only about a mile from where the first case was a few years ago. So, you know, that's concerning, but it's not surprising. Every place in the country that has CWD, the incidence keeps on increasing. One of the things that's somewhat disturbing in Florida is in the core area where both cases have been found, there's not a lot of hunter participation in landowners allowing the FWC to get deer, for hunters turning in deer. So there's only been a very small sample size of deer tested there, only I think 28. And 2 of the 28 have tested positive, and those are like all roadkills. Now, they said, well, dang, that's like an 8% incidence rate. And but he said, well, CWD deer, because it's a neurological disease, those deer may be more prone to being struck by vehicles, so that could bias it. But it's alarming. And so one thing I can say is anyone that lives in the CWD zone, you know, please have your deer tested. If you're a landowner there, you know, allow hunters to hunt there and to be able to get their deer tested, because the sooner we get an idea of what the incident rate is and how big the zone is, we'll be able to contain it better. Now, Winston, we talked about this. Every state that has CWD, they can slow down the spread, but no one's been able to stop it. It just keeps growing. It rolls across the landscape. And we talked years ago, Florida is buffered by water all around us, so we're protected most places. If it was going to come in, it was going to come in North Florida, and that's where it did. So again, we just have to be vigilant and just keep rolling on. It's not a good thing. The bad thing about CWD in Florida is most places in the country, they have higher, we talked about recruitment rate, have higher recruitment rates. So if you are losing deer to CWD, it's an added mortality. But it has a bigger impact on a state that has low recruitment like Florida has. So any additional mortality is only going to make it more difficult to sustain your deer population and grow a population if you want to grow it. So it remains to be seen of what kind of impact it can have in Florida. But
okay, well, we just have to stay on top of it. We got to do our share as far as providing information to them and stay on top of it. Okay, about the bear hunting.
Yeah, well, you all know the agency, FWC, was successful in getting the bear hunt established. You know, some of the animal welfare people are still trying to attack to sue the state, but I don't think that's going to go anywhere. There's in Northwest Florida, in the bear management unit just east of Panama City, there's 68 tags were issued. So if you're a lucky hunter, you know, good luck. The season runs, I think, December 6th through the 28th. You know, I think that's great that we finally get the bear hunt back. And I anticipate, you know, a lot of the antis were getting tags to try to minimize.
we're talking about
the bad thing about that is they think they're actually doing good, but they're actually not, because what the agency has the ability to increase the number of permits based on the harvest rate. So I think 172 tags were issued this year, which they're not going to come close to filling all those. And so what they'll do is they'll just have to proportionally start increasing the number of tags to hit their harvest objective. So really,
that's interesting. I thought about that.
The animal welfare people aren't doing any favors by what they're doing, because they'll never be able to slow it down. So.
I think every state in the union, except 6 states, has bear hunts. I was looking the other day. Almost everybody in the country has bear hunts.
And they're hunting them in other states that have far fewer bears than Florida has. But what's happened in Florida is because bears were allowed to kind of roll on, and a lot of people in communities, especially in Central Florida, where bears are always coming into neighborhoods, getting the trash. And I know proper management of trash is a key component to minimizes those bear-human conflicts. But you still can't take that harvest removal option off the table, because it's collectively all the things necessary, all the tools and toolbox to manage the deer population. But that whole interaction in those communities is what has caused this. People love the bear, so it's created that whole animal welfare scenario.
Well, okay, listen, we got about a minute left. You're getting ready to head up to Missouri.
Missouri next week. Yep.
Your cameras are set up. You've been seeing some nice bucks.
Yeah, we've been seeing some good bucks. So I promise you, next time I come into the show, I'll have some photos.
Yeah, we're going to finish up the show without any pictures. That's cool. We have so much to talk about. And you'll be leaving in 2 weeks, you said?
I leave on the 30th, so I'll get up there, kind of get camp ready the 31st, and usually I start hunting November 1st, which is kind of late pre-rut and first start bust. So I found that's the best time. The end of October, early November. That's prime time. The bucks are cruising. They're not chasing yet really. So you got a better chance to put a.
That's great.
An arrow.
Well, good luck to you. Who always going to be with you?
My son always goes with me, and a couple of good friends in Florida. So
awesome.
we go up every year.
Steve, thanks so much, buddy. Good information. Real good information.
Good talking to you.
We appreciate it. Folks, we will appreciate your viewership. Y'all do something good for someone else today. You have a great day. Enjoy the outdoors, and let's take care of it. And God bless.
God bless.
Thanks for watching America's only daily outdoor TV show, Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester, featuring hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.